We're live. Hey, welcome to the Beyond the Line podcast. We're three sisters, wives, and mothers here to collide, create, and connect with you, our community of Black women and beyond. This is episode 2 of our kind of new format. So really excited to kind of just get into it with you today. So, sisters, how are we?
We are good. It's been a good week. Busy.
Yeah. Really everyone's looking cute. I'm liking the lenses. I'm liking the glasses. Looking cute.
This is work day. This is getting to the end of the work day, but always excited to see everybody.
I was about to say, for you, it's really late. Yeah, for us, it's late. And just small housekeeping, not even housekeeping, small life update. So Annie's first day of school today. So that was a lot. Uniform pics have been sent. Yeah, I tried to be chill and was like, oh, it'll be fine. Literally, as soon as she walked in the door, the tears did come. But and I know Jossie as well started preschool. Is it last week or yesterday? Yeah. So,
and to be fair, I mean, it's in the same building as his nursery. It's just a different entrance.
No, you know what? It's something though.
For him, it's now big school. So he says, and he goes to big school, and he goes to big school. So he goes, I need to go to big school. I was like, yeah, really.
Exactly.
And for me, no big firsts, but surviving homeschooling. Like we are still, kids are still on homeschooling, and it's not school at home. It is homeschooling. It is the real deal.
Like, full on.
It's like, man, much patience is needed, to say the least.
Because you're doing that.
Good milestones.
You're doing that to the end of the year.
Oh, God in heaven. I hope not, but God in heaven. No. Like Fifi is good, she just gets on with it, and I'm trusting that she's got it. Helping them upload, download, get on Teams. And they've got the whole setup, but it's a lot. Like posting work, jumping in. It's really techie. Like I know a lot of adults that don't know how to do what some of these kids have to do on like 7-year-olds, 6-year-olds on a daily basis. So folders and uploads, and the teachers are figuring it out. And there's a chat, there's like a WhatsApp group for like each class. And I'm not lying, it's literally 100 messages a day. I'm not on the Zoom. Can you buzz me in? Is this the right folder?
The doorbell thing.
And it's it's insane. And then you've got the kind of uber like involved parents that are just constantly like so am I supposed to give him a ruler? Is he supposed to use book 1 or book? Like, it's just by morning.
And then to the point where you're like, wait, did you say book 1 to book 2? I didn't even know there were options. I was literally on,
There's a book. Yeah. So it gets to the point where, the noise is like just scrolling through how many messages. It's like, I can't.
The whole for me, entering school and the school system and the parenting thing is new, because like we had the school gate interaction, like you're meeting the mums for the first time, and it's the kind of like it's like you see everyone preening each other, like which mum am I going to talk to? And then everyone's trying to be all like quirky and cool, and I really did think about what I was going to wear. So like, exactly. And then we're not going to lie, we played Spot the Black Children, because we were like, where's the black mums, where's the black parents? And you could even see the whole, you could just see it. And so it was just like, like I said, because me and Kev both took her together, but a bit of an overkill. But I know, but like people bought grandparents. Like, it was correct.
Real. I guarantee they were with their whole posse there, right?
Yeah. People bought grandparents. Like, bearing in mind the letter said, the email said 1 parent, right? And we're like, oh, who's taking her? We both went, and we thought, oh, it's fine, I'm sure everyone else will listen. No, people I'm talking like full family situations heading up, so social distancing was not a thing. But so you could already see the kind of the jungle of the kind of the alpha mums and the different kind of the dads that are kind of involved, the involved dads who are
we have some serious alpha mums in the chat group like within minutes. So I'd like to organize a study group. And you're like, whoa.
Oh wait, and just a quick point into, if you haven't seen it yet, Sky Castle. I know we're not going to do K drama on this one, but just to say, Sky Castle, I was getting Sky Castle energy. So for those who do know what I'm talking about will understand. But it felt a bit Sky Castle in terms of like, oh yeah, so Robert went to this and this. Oh yeah, so did and Annie did this, and Montessori and and I'm like. They're like, oh yeah, they went to dance class together. I'm like, dance class? Yeah, it started yet. She's 4. I thought so there's me thinking you start all this stuff now, but these parents have been like locked in. So I'm like, but I'm completely tuned in. Like, mine's ready. She's been signed up to the classes. She's doing taekwondo. She's doing gymnastics. Like, it's coming.
Don't feel pressure.
Oh no. I don't feel pressure. I do. But anyway, but yeah, okay, cool.
I signed Ober up for fencing. No pressure, no peer pressure.
Oh, I did fencing. It's really good. I did fencing at school.
Total peer pressure moment. Oh, Julian's doing fencing. How do I find out fencing?
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
Anyway, we will get into parents and dramas, I'm sure, at some point. But what are we talking about today, ladies? In our intros are done.
Oh yeah. So but yeah, well, it's kind of I guess we're just going to share a bit of our thoughts on the kind of like, I don't want to say life after, because we're still very much in it, but just like since like Black Lives Matter, in terms of, well, actually, not, let me do better than that. So obviously, the crazy, unjust murder of George Floyd, like we said, rocked the world, completely shook the world in the way that the way it should have, and you know, and since then, you know, there's been more names to add to that list. So by no means is it just about one person, but I just think that the whole kind of Black Lives Matter piece and the kind of protests and everything that's happening, and you know, it's just for me, it's just kind of an update of like life since and what's been going on since that point. So I'm gonna have to pause here because Kevin's walking in the door. Sorry, guys.
real life.
Yeah, it's real life. Sorry about that. But yeah, just kind of an update of life since that point, and how people are kind of, and how the movements, what's happening with the movement, and how people are feeling about it. From a few different perspectives, I think we can get into it from a few different things, because I think, for one, obviously in the US, I'm sure it feels very much still so much in the ether, so much live, so much news. Whereas in the UK, I don't know about UT, but I definitely think there's a slight declining, I would say, of kind of it being a topical thing in the news and kind of in the trends, but it's still such a prevalent conversation amongst peers, even at work. Like, it's still very much something that, you know, we're building our strategy around and stuff like that. But yeah, that's kind of like
more that I think since what's happened with George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, and obviously so many more, and the recent ones, is it's more about actually kind of exposing and calling out. There's been we're calling it now call out culture. And one that I can get behind. There are certain ones I'm like, it's just a trend. It's just but what's been good is that organisations, especially ones that are funded by the government or use public money, they've been really called out. So I, as I kind of said last week, I work in the arts sector, and what has been happening has been a lot of call out, and a lot of Black people especially have been saying, actually, nah, this is not good enough anymore. And because a lot of information is very public knowledge, so people are going onto people's organizations' websites and going into companies' house and all sorts of finding out the real tea. So a lot of organizations have been exposed. So there are some major organizations that are NPOs, which are national portfolio organizations in the arts sector that are funded heavily by the government, and it depends what tier you're on. But essentially, it's public money, right? And there's one in particular who they are one of the heritage royal, national type of organisations, and they don't have one single Black person of colour, full stop, but one single Black person on their senior team, and the amount of money that they're getting paid. So one person, I won't expose who they are. People know. I mean, I could. One person on £100,000 and there's a massive organisation which I will call out because there have been protests and it's made the news. So the South Bank Centre in London has been called out because the creative director gave herself a pay rise. I think either the beginning of this year or last year. Even though she said that she cut it, but essentially it was like a pay rise. But then there's been a lot of redundancies. How's that? How can you get her pay rise is ridiculous as well. And so look, there were protests outside of South Bank Centre. So it's just it's organized. So even though so for me, it's just sparked conversations of injustice. It's really sparked conversations of equity, how fair things have been or haven't been, should I say? Yeah. And I think that's what it's done. So yes, maybe George Floyd's name is not on everybody's lips as much as maybe the beginning, but it certainly has started a ruckus. There's a lot of disruption and a lot of calling out, a lot of things that and I'm a part of it. I've kind of started doing a lot of that as well in the spaces that I occupy, because enough is enough. And I think because of COVID, I said this in a talk that I did recently, that because of this is the first time probably ever that something has affected everybody globally, right? It's not just a Europe thing or it's pretty much the whole world, and the whole world has had to be quiet. For the first time ever, the whole world literally had to be quiet because we've been in our homes. And I think there's been no major events, no major political sports events that, you know.
Yeah. There's been no distractions.
Right? And during that time, therefore, I think what's hit, because there's been protests before, you know, Black lives have been violated and killed how many times over? But why has it made a difference this time? Because the world has had to be quiet. And I think laws have passed, legislation have passed, especially in America, because I think, as I said, the world has to be quiet and the world has had to pay attention, because the George Floyd protests in particular were the largest protests ever, more than the civil rights in 1968 in America, where every single state protested, plus about 16 other countries around the world. That's massive.
Wow.
Do you know what I mean? So, and that has caused a ripple effect in terms of organization. You know what I mean? So this has actually caused such a, this is beautiful, it's wonderful. And unfortunately it was in, you know, somebody dying to do this, but like the UK think that they're not racist. And I think because of George Floyd and because of the protests, people are saying, actually, because a lot of people are saying, oh, but it's in America, it's got nothing to do with us. And I think now people are saying, yes, it is. So yes, there is brutality. Yes, there are Black women that are dying giving birth. Yes, there are Black children that are being, especially Black boys, that are being abused at schools by their teachers. And all of this is unearthed. It's always been there, like what's happened in America. But now we're finally saying, hang on, while the world is quiet, while everybody has to pay attention, while Boris Johnson has to pay attention, while our head of that organisation has to pay attention, this is the time now to speak up. And that's what I think has been happening.
And I was listening to everything you were saying, and I think I don't like the term devil's advocate. Actually, I'm not going to use it. So I actually just want to. I'm just bringing in a perspective of. I think one of the things that this work has done is that it's empowered us as a people, as a community, to say, do you know what? We're not going to wait for you to get it anymore. We're not going to wait for you to understand necessarily. We're just going to get you out of the way and kind of keep moving and keep charging forward. However, there is a part of me that's just like, but when are they, or when are the other people? When are the people who are, this is not their lived experience? When are the people who are not Black? I.e., when are the white people going to get this? And let me just, and it sounds, I'm not even trying to make it an us and them thing, but it is about when are white people also going to get to the point of going, I get it. I have to do something about this, because from a point of allyship and a point of solidarity and whatever else you want to call it, the movement has to be everybody. You know, the Black Lives Matter is about everyone. Yes. And I think that while I'm so, exactly like you said, I'm so like, yes, we're doing this on our own. We don't even need to wait. And it's not about waiting for permission to say, hey, white people, can we do this? But my whole point is, where is your rage? Where is your, like, we need to do something about this? Where is your, actually, something's not okay. We're going to set up a fund to do this.
What do you think about just some of the response that you've seen from corporations? So where you see Sprite, you see Ralph, you know, like some of the big names on TV and in media and in consumer goods. I Sprite, just because I literally saw the advert just now, but a lot of them are like, hey, we're committing X amount of millions for, you know, earrings are falling down. We're committing X amount of, you know, dollars for, you know, to fund Black businesses. We know, if you go on Pinterest, if you go on Etsy, if you go on Netflix, you go on Amazon, you'll see, hey, you know, we are putting Black stories in the forefront. We're committing money to this. So do you think that is that response, Books, to like, we get it and this is our part? Or do you think people are just trying to ride a wave? Like how much is that associated with saying versus just riding a wave of just trying to be woke for the moment?
I think for me, if I'm honest with you, it's a bit of both. I really do and respect and think, wicked for those people who've done those like big statement moments or big, clear, explicit, like we are going to do this and back it with money. I think particularly, when people are putting money where their mouth is, that is something to say. But I think because I do diversity inclusion and so much of it is about the cultures within businesses, I'm sitting here thinking about, so those statements are wonderful. Those posters, those campaigns are amazing. But how are the people in your businesses feeling? What is that? What is the culture that you are fostering? What's the lived experience? What is the lived experience? What is the culture you're fostering in your businesses that reflect that big statement of like, we're doing this? Because that's where I kind of worry, because I think about when the news about George Floyd landed in the UK, I didn't get emails from the emails that I received. My inbox and my phone was blaring up from the Black people I work with being like, what is happening? What are we doing? What is the business doing? Are we responding? Are we like, how are we checking on our people? Are people okay? And it was all the Black community were the first ones to kind of to do something and to kind of ask those questions. And it almost became a thing where and I get that and I understand that, but what was frustrating is that when I asked the question to some of the kind of other people and some of the other white people in the business, there was a sense of, oh, okay, like I didn't realize that was going to be such a present issue, or I didn't, it took more of a moment for them to kind of get into gear and go, oh, okay, yeah, actually. So again, it's and for what worries me is that if that can happen in the heat when it's heavy and thick and very clear that there's an issue, that you can still have a sense of resistance or a sense of, oh, is that my responsibility to do something? Yeah. Then as the time goes on and this conversation becomes more about the kind of the stuff behind the scenes and the real work is being done, and it's not topical, it's not headline, but it's going to affect the people that you're going to work with, the people that you're kind of they're in your business. That's when I'm like, that's what worries me. When where is your sentiment there, or not even sentiment? Where is your sense of action and responsibility then? Where is that lying? And,
it's funny, I get what you're saying, and so for me, and I was lucky enough to, I work in a good company. Like I've always been quite proud of just the level of advocacy that the company has always had in its culture. And so having people of all races come and say, what do we do? Like, what do we do? Like, how do we move? And it was white people, it was people from every office was like, what do we need to do? And so that, and they were like, let us know, what does allyship mean? What does it mean? But people were like, I feel helpless. I had a lot of my white colleagues reach out and just be like, I just want to let you know I'm here for you. I don't know how you're feeling. And so I feel privileged to work in an organization where that happened.
That was happening organically.
Yeah. But I think you're right though, as far as, when people just miss and I kept going back and I was meditating, and just like thinking like, what is it? And I'm like, and the word compassion just kept coming back to me. And I was like, and I was like, okay, what is it? And I don't know why the word compassion stuck in my head. And I don't mean to trivialize it to be like emotions and like, but the idea that why are we not moved by others' suffering? Like when did we stop being moved by others' suffering? And this is about, it's not happening to you, but to not be able to see beyond yourself and recognize that a whole entire race of people feels so victimized, feels so attacked and so marginalized. And I just like, even if you get nothing, the compassion towards understanding people's pain.
But what I find is hard is that, so again, the difference between the UK and America, for instance. So, we, since, George Floyd, Breonna Taylor and things like that, so, and call out and all of that. So, for example, a lot of heritage organizations who are usually steeped heavily in colonization, these museums that have got artifacts that have been stolen. So one, for instance, was talking about their actual building and saying that we know that this building was put together by the backs of slaves, and they tweeted that, and I don't know what response that they thought they were going to get, but then there was a lot of white people like, I'm going to revoke my membership. Why are you talking about this? And it's just to go back to what you're saying, Yewande, the fact that when it's there's no compassion, there's no like, oh wow, it's uncomfortable, therefore I don't want to talk about it.
Because I think when you talk about race, it's also
in history still in schools, there are still so much omitted in history books in UK schools, because the part that's omitted is about colonization, isn't it? So of course they're not going to put that in the history books, but that means lots and lots of culture and people, what's happened in the past for a lot of cultures and stuff is completely erased, because
basically what happens is we don't get context. I think what people, we lack a context of belonging, in a sense of if I don't have any history here and if I don't understand my role here because I think culturally Black people, we are, there's a thing about we grieve as a kind of we grieve as a community. So it doesn't, because I'm slightly sidebarring a little bit, but there's these things that I was picking up in terms of like, why is this affecting you when you don't know the person? But culturally, we grieve as a community. That's how we are. Our story and our history is so much of who our identity is as well. And I think in the UK, compared to America, that erasure of the process of what colonization was and what it did and what it meant, it erases our contribution. It doesn't just erase our treatment and mistreatment, but it also raises the contribution that we made. And so I think that, to your point about when you're talking about, you were being lucky enough to be in a company that kind of has that within its ether, I think that this is where the conversation is really interesting to have it in the UK, US lens, and the difference in terms of, like, I feel like in the UK, we are still...
But not all US companies, don't get me, like, I'm...
Oh, no, I know. Oh, yeah, no, completely. But I just think in the US, it's a very clear-cut conversation. It's very, very, it's black and white.
It is, but it doesn't make it any easier.
But what I'm saying is that the place of fighting is not, does racism exist? It's this is a black and white thing, and we need to work. Whereas in the UK, is it racism? Is there really racism? Is there? And so if that's a backdrop to an issue that is so big, so as the further time goes away, what worries me the most is that people's attention to this also just dissipates, because they go, oh no, it really isn't an issue here. Because like I said, if it's not their lived experience, it's not they lack.
I think how do we keep, and I think us having these kind of conversations, how do we encourage our community? How do we encourage our allies to? Because, like you said, this is provide a moment for us, and for some, I think in the UK, like you said, a very, very necessary moment that hasn't often been opportune. So how do we not let the dust settle on this when everybody gets bored of it and another headline?
Yeah, how do you get past the fatigue?
I don't think it is. I mean, I don't think that. But for instance, a lot of things have come out from this. So a lot of, there are a lot of more initiatives. Like, for instance, in the UK, there's a thing called Black Pound Day now, and that's the first Saturday every month. And one of my friends helped set that up, actually, and that's just about supporting Black businesses. And a lot of people jump.
But that's something that exists within the community, right? But like, in terms of like
than that now, it's gone a lot. Yeah, it's quite small, obviously, and it's only been a few months, but it's gone wiser. Where it is, yeah, of course, you've got those people going, oh, why isn't there a White Pound Day? But
oh, what, every day?
Honestly,
I think one of the biggest deterrents, and I think one of the things that makes this so hard, is that when you talk about race, you ultimately put somebody on the side of the oppressed and the oppressor. When you talk about being oppressed, it means somebody has to put their hand up as the oppressor. And for a lot of people, it's just something they just don't want to. Yeah. Oh, like, who wants to be called that? Who wants to be called out?
Yeah, but then my challenge to them is that, but who wants to be oppressed? Like, my whole thing is, oh, I'm so sorry that it's hard to be the oppressor. But do you know what? It's try being the oppressed. And that's where I don't have as much, I guess, right now. And I think it's good that we're showing this kind of lens of it, but I think and it's good to show the spectrum and the scale. For me, is the role of the other side is that it is like, so like you said, like the Black Pound Day, I'm talking about government, but when does this become a huge thing at a governmental level? And I know this, everyone's like, oh, it's it's far away in the future and it will come, but there is a sense of like, but when?
You know what it is for me? It's a ripple. It's not going to be a bam bam. It's a ripple, like the ripple of these big organizations, NPO organizations, being called out for the lack of diversity, whatever, in their leadership. Like, do you know what I mean? I feel like that's going to ripple, and I don't know, it may not be as fast as we want, because obviously, again, we're in a society where they don't think they're racist. But I think some of these ripple things that are happening will get to that level. I have to live in hope with that. I have to live in hope.
I think the point is, though, as far as I think the point is, though, as far as how to make that big ripple happen, is that while we do for ourselves hard. I think the point is that while we have some momentum, and while we have this moment, and if we don't educate, and there things a role, and again, I know this sense of like, why should I educate you on stuff that you should already know? The truth is, they don't know, and I think we have to get to the root cause analysis. You can't just be like, why don't you get it? Why don't you get it? Okay, why don't you get it? Let's understand why you don't get it. And I think back to my point of being identified as the oppressor is a hard pill for people to take, right? It's like, I'm not racist, but by not standing up, by profiting from a system that is, you contributed to. And I think helping people understand that you may not identify as a racist, but if you profit from a system that that keeps another down, at the expense of their progress, and you progress at the expense of somebody else's progress, let me help you understand how you contribute to it. And because you're not a racist, my ask to you is that, how do you want to help us tear that down?
So this is a moment where I don't want it to pass us by, where we ourselves as a community get so kind of fatigued by the fact that we don't think anything's going to change outside of our own community, but equally, or fatigued by kind of pushing and rallying for our allies to do more, and for white people to really understand where we're coming from. And I just think that so this is not a conversation of like blame or shame. It's just let's never get fatigued, like let's never get tired of doing the work. And that's to everybody. Like find, and it comes back to you. And how do you do that? If you ask me how I do that, it's that why. What is your why? Come back to your thing that anchors you, the purpose, that thing that anchors you. Because if you have that, no matter what happens in life, you will continue to do that work. And to your point, T, it's long-term work. But for me, it's like finding your reason that will keep that going, even when kind of the time passes. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, for any of you that are, you know, in a space where you can have this conversation, you know, join us. And if you're not, right, join us, comment, you know, chat. Let's keep it going. Let's keep the conversation open. We'll be talking a little bit more in our next podcast about the workplace specifically. And so I think it'll be a really great place to kind of continue exploring, like, how do we make things better for ourselves at work? So, but man, I knew this would be a, you know, passionate one. And why are you trying to be quiet now, T? Yeah, plenty to say.
No,
I knew this would be a passionate one
for the next episode. But no. I just kind of like wanted to make sure. Let's kind of save it to the next episode.
No, and it's good. Cool. You know, and I'm glad that so many of us are having it, and like we're just putting ourselves on the same platform and continuing the conversation. So we hope you've enjoyed it. We hope that it sparks some thought for yourselves. We hope you have these conversations among your friends, your family, your loved ones, your colleagues, and you know, let's keep having them. So, but thank you so much, y'all. We really appreciate.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for listening.
Being with us. Hopefully, you will get to see and hear from you. So please have your comments, your suggestions, your feedback. We really appreciate it. And so thank you so much. And we will see you next time.
Bye.